have to. Oh, first of all, okay, we'll get to that soon. Perfect. Megillah. That's right. Does anybody remember the acronym we had, or the little bit of a technique to remember the mitzvot of Purim? 4 mems. That's it. 4 mems. Well, the first one is Megillah. Thank you, Russell. What else? Matanot Levionim and Mishloach Manot as usually go together. And the last one? Mishteh. Yafeh. Tov. When do we read the Megillah? At night and in the morning. And which one is the essential one, the most important one? The morning. That's right. The morning. And that's why we'll come back to that in a few minutes. What else? How many Mishloach Manot do you have to give?
At least 2.
Close, but no cigar. 1 with 2 portions. Very good. Ish lere'ehu, the Megillah says, each man to his friend, singular. So you only have to give 1 package. But that package has to include manot, which is the plural of a manah as a portion, so 2 portions. 2 portions, usually we use 2 different types of foods. Food and drink is also kosher. Gemara says that Rabbi Yehuda Nasi sent to his student, Rabbi Oshia, a delicious piece of steak and a bottle of wine. And he said to him, good job, you fulfilled your mitzvah of Mishloach Manot. Now, the other partner to the Mishloach Manot is Matanot Le'Evyonim. Some versions of the Gemara read that Rabbi Oshia said to him, you also fulfilled Matanot Le'Evyonim. Because if that's the proper version, then he was telling him, well, I'm poor. And you also fulfilled at least part of your mitzvah to give gifts to the poor. How do you do Matanot Le'Evyonim?
You have to give at least 2 different food, and one of each must be at least 20 shekels. There is the minimum amount for get a nice meal with something to eat and something to drink.
Yafeh. It's hard to define exactly how much you have to give, but the main point is, if Mishloach Manot you have to give to 1 person, only 1 package. That's all you need. The rest is just extra, and it's a good thing. It's not just extra. It's a mitzvah. The more you give packages, the more you're increasing the love. You're spreading the friendship, which is the mitzvah. And Matanot Le'Evyonim, in the mitzvah, it's defined as Evyonim, 2 poor people. So you have to give to 2 separate poor people a gift. What is the gift? It's hard to define the precise amount. It's a nice way to describe it, what Thomas is saying, the amount that he can buy something to eat. I think you can get a falafel for 10 shekels. You want to say 20 shekels? All right, 20 shekels. These are the, get a falafel with shawarma or something. It depends what you want to buy. Anyways, that's the bare minimum. And of course, the more the merrier. Also here, the more tzedakah you give. There's a custom on Purim, kol ha'poshet yad notnim lo, that whoever reaches out his hand and asks, you give. Usually the rest of the year. It's also nice to give, but it's totally legitimate and perhaps advised to make sure that he's not a swindler, that he's not a thief, that he's not taking you for a ride, that he's really needy, that maybe it's a legitimate cause, whatever cause he's raising for. But on Purim, the custom is we throw caution to the wind. Of course, don't be irresponsible and give money you don't have, but that's the poor people look forward to Purim because they know wherever they put out their hands, somebody's going to give them. Keep a pocket full of change. If you still have coins, remember those things people used to use to pay for things? Coins? Yeah, you've heard of it. Yeah, okay. Still exists. It's on its way out. In any case, the digital pocketbook is. The digital wallet is getting stronger. So this is Mishloach Manot, Matanot Le'Evyonim, and Mishteh. Mishteh, what are the laws of the Mishteh?
On the day you have to have a soda.
It's the Suda in the daytime. You have to have a meal, probably best to wash, and to have meat and wine. And then, yes, Russell? You should drink.
More wine than usually.
Aha, right. What's the definition in the Gemara? Until you don't know the difference between Baruch Haman and Arur Mordechai. Oh, I'm already there. I'm already there. You see that? That's it. I fulfilled my All good, right? So I guess I don't have to drink too much of Purim. I'm always ready to get confused. I'm always a little confused. You can sit a little closer too. I don't bite. I mean, maybe I spit a little, but you know. Yafeh. Okay.
Some thick gloves, huh?
Thanks. Yeah. So that's the Mishneh. We talked about it at length. About it is a time for drinking. That's the way we commemorate the miracles of Purim that happened through parties with drinking parties. But of course, it's a good thing to drink responsibly, and it's a good thing to really appreciate perhaps the theme that we're trying to reach, to serve God beyond our rational faculties as well, and commemorate the feast of Esther. Another thing we commemorate, those are the 4 laws. Pretty much that's it. You summarized them pretty quickly. There's one thing that we skipped over, and that is before Purim comes, it's going to be Tanit Esther, the fast day on the 13th of Adar for everybody, whether you're in Jerusalem or in Tel Aviv. The fast day remains on the 13th of Adar, which is the day of... What happened on the 13th of Adar? The decree, and not only... Yeah, how was the decree set for that day? How was this decree set for that day?
Haman sent it to all provinces and said...
Why did Haman choose that day?
He made a lot.
Because the lot came out. Really, the real Purim, the real Pur, the lot came out for the 13th of Adar. We celebrate, of course, the day after the war, on the 14th. And in Jerusalem, we commemorate the 2-day war in Shushan, and that's on the 15th. But actually, the war was on the 13th, and so really Purim should be called the 13th. We call for the 14th Purim. The festival is called Purim, but fine. And what's the custom on the fast of Esther? Well, we fast. Very good. Okay, yeah. What else? And from the morning, just from the morning, not from the previous night. Just daytime. Yeah, just daytime. What else do you do on the fast of Esther?
You read something.
Sure, you change the prayers a little bit. What?
You read something.
You read something? Oh, every fast day you read something. You know that. Good. Don't say tachnun. Very good. What else? What else? There's a custom.
I probably know it, but it doesn't.
There's so many customs.
I'm drawing a blank.
Baruch Hashem. That's why we're learning.
Is it in the book?
It's in the book. We talked about it, but we're this is the book of Pesach, so we're just doing review now. The custom is to give zecher lemachatzit shekel, a commemoration of the half shekel donations. We learned about it a few weeks ago in the Parshat Shavua, and usually we actually give that half a shekel on Ta'anit Esther, the day before Purim, because the Megillah writes how Haman was so keen on destroying the Jewish people, he put his money where his mouth is. And how much did he pay?
10,000 kick.
10,000 kick, a silver cup. Right, so if we all add up together our half shekels, we're going to outnumber, and we'll be able to buy him out. And we're putting our money where our mouth is, and we're investing our shekels to good causes, any good cause really. It's of course a commemoration of the half shekel, which was given for the sake of the Mishkan, but the custom is to do it on Erev Purim. That's Ta'anit Esther, and you'll see lots of plates of different, tzedakah funds and yeshivot and all sorts of places that are fundraising. They try to collect money from the zecher lemachatzit hashekel. This is all before Purim comes, and you have to give the other gifts that we spoke about before, the matanot levanim on the day of Purim. This is pre-Purim, zecher lemachatzit hashekel. Okay, yes.
Although when we were counting in Parshas Pekudei, all the silver that the Jewish people gave, or even accumulating all the gold that the entire nation gave, which I think was more than this. No, the silver was more.
This is 1,000 kikar. Yeah.
Yeah, and Haman gave 10,000 kikar. That's like.
Well, he says 10,000 shekel. It's not the same thing as a kikar. I'm not sure exactly what the ratio is, but
kikar is more.
Kikar is more. Yeah, I think it's more. It's more than the 1 shekel. It's more than 1 to 1. So I don't know the ratio. The point is it's largely symbolic, though. Of course, the point is if we gather together, right? The 13th of Adar, the day of Tanit Esther, is the day of gathering. That's when we all gather to protect, to defend ourselves, to stand up, and ultimately to punish our enemies, and then we party. Okay, there's a custom to party as well, and to have a meal at night as well, but. Now we get to the halacha, which we said we really have to finish off, and we didn't discuss to its fullest. There was a few questions here. People are traveling. We mentioned that Purim in Jerusalem is on the 15th of Adar, and Purim in Tel Aviv and Tekoa is on the 14th of Adar. What happens if you go in between the cities? So this is a little complicated. Well, it's going to take an example. Somebody sitting in this room shall remain nameless, but he rides a motorcycle and he's sitting right opposite me, but it's okay. He says his schedule is as follows. Wednesday morning, he's in Jerusalem. That's where he lives. You live in Jerusalem, right? Yep. Terrific. And then at 4 p.m.
4 a.m. No, 4 p.m.
You're going to have to adjust this. It says here on Wednesday, you're at 6 a.m. in Jerusalem. And at 4 p.m. I will travel to Jerusalem.
No.
Am I missing? That's a mistake. Okay. So you're going to Beit Shemesh on 4 p.m. on Wednesday.
Yeah.
That means that when Purim starts in Beit Shemesh, Purim starts Wednesday night. You with me, guys?
Yeah.
The beginning of the 14th, right? Wednesday night is Purim in Beit Shemesh. So Renan is going to be in Beit Shemesh when Purim starts. And then he's going to stay there overnight. You work there all night, right? You have a night job sometimes. And you're there all night long until 6 a.m., correct?
Yeah,
On Thursday morning. Thursday morning, 6 a.m.
I will be there 6 a.m.
And you stay there. And you stay until what time?
Until the next day.
You stay there all day Thursday. So all day of Purim, you're going to be in Beit Shemesh. Even starting from the night before. So it seems pretty clear that you are a Beit Shemesh person. This Purim, right? On the 14th of Adar, Wednesday night, the entire day of the 14th, which starts Wednesday night, continues all the way to Thursday, you're going to be a Beit Shemesh. Of course, you have to celebrate Purim in Beit Shemesh. You have to find the Kriyat Megillah in the nighttime, find the Kriyat Megillah in the morning. You have to give Mishloach Manot, give Matanat Levunim, have a Mishteh, all that in Beit Shemesh. And I know you're working, but you have to work it out. How, in between working, you'll be able to fulfill these basic in a minimal way. Obviously, you don't have your family with you. It's not going to be probably the biggest Suda, mishteh that you've ever had. And probably you can't get drunk because you're on duty. You probably get fired. But you have to find a way to do those 4 mitzvot on Purim in Beit Shemesh. Now let's continue your schedule. When do you travel back to Jerusalem? On Thursday afternoon? Not at all.
Friday morning.
You stay in Beit Shemesh Thursday night as well.
Yeah.
And then what time do you come back to Jerusalem Friday morning? 10 a.m. Well, what do you say?
You don't have late for the Megillah reading.
It's too late. We said that the simplest way to the simplest marker, criterion for deciding whether you're a Jerusalemite or a Tel Avivian is what time? What time of day did we say? Sunrise. The dawn, actually, before sunrise, the dawn of the morning of that day. In other words, in Beit Shemesh, it would be the morning of Thursday morning, and in Yerushalayim, it would be like 5 a.m. on Friday morning. Friday morning, 5 a.m., you're still in Beit Shemesh, and you actually celebrated an entire Purim already in Beit Shemesh. So this year, your Purim is going to be only in Beit Shemesh. You come back to Jerusalem, you'll be finished with Purim, even though everybody else is partying, and your family might be partying, and they have to party. You don't have to party with them. You could take care of them. Let your wife get drunk, You could take care of the kids, whatever it is.
Yeah, but I need to be in Beit Shemesh in the dawn of Wednesday or in the dawn?
Yes.
So in the dawn of Wednesday,
Yes.
I will be here in Jerusalem.
You just wrote to me that at 4 p.m. on Wednesday, you're traveling to Beit Shemesh.
4 p.m. But the
4
6
p.m.
a.m.
Thursday, 6 a.m. is what matters.
Thursday and Friday.
Thursday is the Yud Daled. Thursday is the day of Purim. It's not the day before Purim that matters. It's the day of Purim that matters.
Okay,
So Thursday morning you'll be a Beit Shemesh. So you're going to be a Beit Shemeshite.
I think it was the day before.
Not the day
On
before.
Wednesday
No.
morning, you need to be-
No. Wednesday morning doesn't matter where you are. You can be on the moon on Wednesday morning, and it's fine.
I wish.
You'll be here. We have class. Don't think that it's a fast day and you get off. I won't be drinking my tea and coffee, and we won't bring in Hamantashen Wednesday morning. We're fasting, but we still have class, at least the morning, all morning. And the afternoon, I think there might not be Opan or something Wednesday afternoon. But
That was my question.
yeah, there's classes Wednesday morning regular. Yeah, Renan, continue. Yeah.
מתנות לוויונים in my community in the בית כנסת. בבית כנסת.
Yes,
So, like,
yes.
community and-
That's what you usually do.
Yeah, we did already.
You did already, I see. You can give ahead of time, and then they distribute it on the day of Purim. Very good.
So
Not so good, because they'll be distributing it on what day of Purim? In Jerusalem. But you need to be doing the mitzvah on the 14th of Adar, on Thursday, not on Friday. So you have to give some more tzedakah to somebody who's going to distribute it on Thursday, not on Friday. Somebody who's going to distribute it maybe in Beit Shemesh. And maybe there's some poor people around you and around where you work, and just give them a few shekels, and you're good to go. Right.
all
Right?
I don't know if I have.
Well, we can make money even on internet.
Yes. You can pay by credit card nowadays. Many stuck of funds. You tell them, I want the money to be given on Thursday. Tell them I want the money to give it on Friday. They'll do whatever you say.
Okay.
Just give them your money.
Yeah, keep the root comes
It's for the sake of the poor people. It's all good. Okay, is that clear? Now there was another question. Somebody traveling. Ravid, were you traveling as well? Or you're
Yes.
planning to travel? Do you want to give us your schedule, or you think it's clear to you?
Wednesday in the morning, I'm here in Jerusalem,
Baruch Hashem in class, of course.
and after lunch,
Yes.
I'm going to
After no lunch, yes.
Yes.
You're going to
Kiryat Ono.
Kiryat Ono.
So instead in the evening, I will read the Megillah.
Read the Megillah in Kiryat Ono, yes.
Thursday.
It's not a walled city, so it's Purim already, yes.
Thursday morning, I still in.
You'll be staying overnight,
Yes.
yes. Okay.
So in the morning, I also
Read the Megillah again,
And
and
in the afternoon.
and you have to do Mishloach Manot, Matanot Levyonim, and Mishteh, and then in the afternoon you're coming.
Around 6:00, I'm back in to Jerusalem.
Oh, and then you're going to sleep here.
Yes.
So that's interesting. There's a debate.
Two Purims.
Right. It sounds we're machmir that essentially you should have two Purims. If you're sleeping, the 14th outside of Jerusalem and then the 15th in Jerusalem, you actually have to hear the Megillah 4 times. Right? You better be. You're lucky. You're lucky for sure. It's a good story, by all means. And party. Why not? Party double, right? And in Jerusalem, you just have to be careful. This year, it's a little bit tricky with Friday. So most people will be starting their Su'udah before noon, Friday morning. It's not because you're really not supposed to eat on Friday afternoon to be hungry for Shabbat, but it's not absolutely forbidden. Some people do this fancy footwork. What did we call it? Pores, mapa, umekadesh. That you start your Purim Suda in the late afternoon, and in the middle it turns into a Shabbat Suda.
Mm-hmm.
You cover the Chalot, make Kiddush, and then continue the Suda. It turns into magically a Shabbat party instead of a Purim party, sort of combining the 2 days together. And the Tefillah is done usually later, or the Kabbalat Shabbat you can sing at the table if you really want to. Depends how things are going, but that depends on where you're being hosted and so forth. This Shabbat, okay, very good. So we have here Renan, who has only one Purim on the 14th, though, even though his family lives in the 15th in Jerusalem, and we have Ravid here who's going to have 2 Purims because he's spending the day in Kiryat Ono, and then the second day he's spending in Yerushalayim. And if you know you're going to be spending the morning of Friday in Yerushalayim, you'll be here for sure. So it's best to make sure that you're here early enough Thursday night so that you can hear the Megillah and begin the Purim with everybody. So Al Hanisim is the addition into the Shmona Esrei and the benching on your Purim only. So you'll say it 4 times,
Yes.
or more, 6 times, because Mariv also. Most of us are going to say it 3 times on the three davenings, the 3 tefillot of the day, Al Anisim, and then 1 more at least when you're having the Seudah. If you say Birkat Hamazon, you add in the Al Anisim. Okay, questions about our brief summary of the laws of Purim?
How much is a half shekel nowadays?
It's a good question. So the Ashkenazi custom is to give a half shekel.
Right.
It's a pretty good estimate of how much is a half a shekel. It's a half a shekel. Of the current half shekel, the new Israeli shekel, you don't have to make any calculations whatsoever. That's the Ashkenazi custom.
Okay.
There is an Ashkenazi custom to give 3 half shekels. If I do my math in my head, sometimes I get confused. It's 1.5 shekels, right?
Right.
Am I right?
Yes.
Half a shekel times 3,
Is
1.5 shekels.
Yeah.
Not a big expense. It's a commemorative. Half a shekel.
Half shekel was silver.
Yeah, but we don't know.
What do you mean
All
we
right,
don't know?
the
There is
Sephardic custom. The Sephardic custom.
There you go. Now you're talking.
Sephardic customs. We try to estimate how much silver
There you
was
go.
in the half shekel in the time of the Beit Hamikdash when they actually were making this tax. And I think the latest I heard, the chief rabbi came out and said this year, based on the fluctuating value of silver on the markets, the appropriate amount to give, if you're Sephardi, is 24 shekels.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That
Was the question.
That was my question.
But
You could actually help someone out with 24 shekels. You can't with shekels.
Okay, sure. That's not the point.
listen, I think I also mentioned that the custom of the Ashkenazim is to give for every member of your household, including unborn children, if your wife happens to be pregnant. And so it could add up. 1.5 shekels times
8.
6, 8, whatever it is, 10. That's already nice, So, but the point again is that the helping the poor people really is the money on the day of Purim, right? The Zecher Machzit Shekel were much more lenient.
Right,
You
that's
could give it to
from the
yeshivot. You could give it to institutions that you want to support and so forth. It's not the same law as helping poor people specifically, like the Matanot Levinim on the day of Purim itself.
Right, it's only for the,
Okay, clear?
Yeah.
Question?
Thank you.
Oh, good, great. So let's pretend we're ready for Purim. Ready or not, here we come, and we will go back and prepare for Pesach. As we started to do, we started to look through the principal mitzvot of Pesach. We got rid of the chametz in many different ways. We understood what chametz is. We're learning how to kasher your kitchen in the other class. And so we skipped over those laws, and we talked about the matzah and the mitzvah to eat the matzah, and the different types of matzah there are, and different what qualifies as matzah, and we skipped ahead straight to the laws of the Seder itself, the Haggadah. We talked about the mitzvah to tell the story to your children, and the primary essential parts of that, 4 different ways we tell the story. And finally we get to the last chapter in the book, which goes through Seder night. It's chapter 16. I just want to point out that we did skip over 1 chapter, and that is the laws and customs of Erev Pesach. Laws of Erev Pesach, I will say something about it before we actually get to Pesach itself. It's chapter 13. I just quickly summarize it. Every Erev Shabbat, every Erev Yom Tov is special because we're getting ready for the Shabbat. And in my home, I try to instill this into my children, that the day before Shabbat is a special day because we should be, part of the way we honor the Shabbat is not just when we get to it, we party, and but getting ready for the Shabbat is a big part of honoring the Shabbat. Cleaning the house, cleaning your clothes, making your beds, washing your hair, putting on Shabbat clothes. helping, get the table ready for Shabbat. Everything, all that is part of honoring the Shabbat. So really, Shabbat sort of creeps into Erev Shabbat. So this is true of every Yom Tov and every Shabbat. Erev Pesach is special, even more than usual. Why is Erev Pesach more special than any other Erev Shabbat or Erev Yom Tov?
Because you prepare a week early. So many things.
There's other things, but they're already done. The chametz you've already cleaned for the night before. You did the b'dikat chametz. You burned it in the morning. But the rest of the day, what's special about the day of Erev Pesach, which doesn't exist in any other Erev Shabbat? True, it's true. You can't eat matzah, and you can't eat chametz either. We learned about that. But there's something more unique. Something that's why. I'll say it this way. You're right, Shua, but you're in the right direction. No, not only so you're hungry for the mitzvah. What else, Russell?
Not just prepare for one night, but you prepare for an entire week.
Good, you're preparing for an entire week, but you're not getting it. You're not getting it. I'm trying to hint to you. Why are you not allowed to have chametz? I know you're not allowed to have chametz all week, right? 7 days. That's what the Torah says. Why not on Erev Pesach already from Chatzot? You're not allowed to have chametz, right? That's why we burn an hour before, 2 hours before. Why does Hashem say it? It is because it says it in the Torah, Shua. Just because you're ignorant doesn't mean we can't. We have to be ignorant. It says explicitly in the Torah why you're not allowed to have chametz on Erev Pesach.
Oh, yeah, because we're in a rush.
Not because we're in a rush. No, that's coming, and the night we start to rush to commemorate the Exodus from Egypt when they were rushing to get out. That was the following morning. But what happens on the 14th of Nisan, Erev Pesach? Before Pesach even starts, there's something very special about this day itself. Thomas got it. Say it out loud. Korban Pesach. We don't have it anymore, and so it's out of our consciousness, out of our minds, but this was in itself a holiday. Really, perhaps the original holiday of Pesach meant the Korban Pesach. Right. We would eat it at night as part of the korech, right? We talked about the sandwich, mutton, lettuce, and tomato sandwich, right? No tomatoes, but no. But wrapped up in a wrap of the soft matzah. We thought. So the korban was eaten at night, but when was it slaughtered? It was slaughtered on the day of, the afternoon of the 14th. And so, really, Erev Pesach, more than any other Erev Yom Tov, is itself a holiday. So much it's a holiday, there's a debate amongst the poskim. What does that mean?
Poskim, the authorities.
Decisors, the rabbis who decide halacha. There's a debate going way back to the times of the Mishnah whether or not you're allowed to work on this day. It itself is a holiday. Holidays we don't work. So the common custom is we try to avoid it. It's not quite prohibited, but it's more prohibited than it is on every Erev Shabbat and Erev Yom Tov, because it is a festive day all in itself. And I was trying to give you a hint, Shua. The Torah says not to eat chametz on the 14th from the afternoon on, because that's when we're bringing the Korban Pesach. We're not allowed to have chametz not only for the 7 days of Pesach, but the extra half a day before that too, because when we bring the Pesach sacrifice, we already can't have any chametz. Mm-hmm. And so that's why it's sort of like, it's a very special day, the day before Pesach. Also, someone mentioned here, there is a custom to fast. The fast of the firstborn. It's not quite the same level of fasting of Tanit Esther, of the other 4 fast days that we fast to commemorate the destruction of the temple. It's not quite as ancient an institution. And therefore, the custom has become to do the firstborn really fast on Erev Pesach?
Yeah. Only the first one.
First of all, it's only the firstborns. And second of all, do they really fast on the day before Pesach? The answer is no, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, you can if you like.
I was not referring to you when I said ladies. Don't jump. Ladies and gentlemen, the
You are
custom,
fast if you want to.
not necessarily. Actually not. I mean, permitted. It's hard to say. It's hard to say you're forbidden, but it's not suggested. The rabbis suggest even the firstborns not to fast. What kind of fast is that? It's called the fast of the firstborn, but nobody fasts. What do we do instead?
Celebrate Siyum.
That's right. We celebrate a siyum, masechet. Custom is to this particular fast gets overridden if you participate in a celebration of Torah, finishing a portion of Torah. Many people finish a masechet of Talmud. You could also finish, a seder of Mishnah or any big endeavor of studying Torah. It says in the Gemara that it's a mitzvah to make a celebration when you complete this major section of studying of Torah. It's such a great joy that you can invite your friends to party with you, and partying at such a celebration of Torah overrides the fast of the firstborn. And so the custom is in every community, in every shul, usually it happens right after Shacharit in the morning, so you can have breakfast. Someone gets up, someone who happened to finish, or specifically worked it out, so they'll be finishing a significant portion of Torah, and he'll get up and he'll finish off the learning, and he'll say the special prayer at the end of the completion of Torah study called the Siyum, and he'll invite everybody to join him in the celebration, including all the firstborn.
What about the firstborns that don't figure out how to participate in a...
It's a big problem. They might have to fast. We try to avoid it though. Why do we say you shouldn't? You should actually try to participate in a siyum. Because it's the day before Pesach. There's a lot of things to do. You've got to burn your chametz. You've got to prepare the Seder table. You've got to, clean, sell. There's so many things to do on Erev Pesach, and prepare the salt water. And so we're going to see all the things you need for the Seder. And so we want you to have enough energy. And if you're fasting, you might not do all those mitzvot well enough. And so, even though it's called the fast of the firstborn, it's not suggested that anybody fast. Even the firstborn should find a siyum somewhere. And if you think you're going to be somewhere on a desert island or traveling, learn. That's right. Right now, start learning. You've got a month to go, a month and 2 days before the 14th, right? 14th of Adar is soon. And the 14th of Nisan is when you need to make a siyum. 30 days should be enough to finish a significant masechet of Talmud or whatever else you guys can learn. So that's all I'm going to say, I think, about Erev Pesach. Some people actually recite the psukim and the description of exactly how the Korban Pesach was brought in Jerusalem, in the temple, in the times of the temple, on the 14th in the afternoon as a commemoration. And it's a beautiful custom. We yearn for the day when the temple is reestablished and we can fulfill these mitzvot as they were originally intended. Yes, questions?
Yeah, my question was just what time was exactly when we do the Korban Pesach?
So if you learn in Masechet Pesachim, there's quite a long description in detail of precisely when it is. And usually the Korbanot in the afternoon, in the Beit HaMikdash, every day there was Korbanot in the afternoon. They were usually much later in the afternoon. This day, in particular, because all of the Jewish people come to Jerusalem, you can imagine it was quite a crowd. They had a few rounds of who would enter the temple, do their sacrifice, and then leave and make room for the next group, and then they would leave, and each one of these groups would be singing the Hallel, and it was an entire. There's a description of it. We have a description from the times of the temple. Believe it or not, who describes it in this beautiful detail? And it was such an amazing sight to see the Kohanim with their silver, bowls and and all dressed up and lined up in a uniform. They had like a conveyor belt type of, what's that called? You move things one to the next, so you transfer,
An assembly line.
an assembly line. They had an assembly line of Kohanim. Who describes it with great in great detail? Josephus, the traitor, who was a Jew, but he worked for the Roman Empire, and he described the temple service as a beautiful. So we do commemorate that. Some people, if you haven't have a time on Pesach afternoon, it's in many Haggadot. You'll see when we're going to open up the Haggadot, you'll see that they start off with that. After the burning of the chametz, there'll be a section there reciting the details of the Korban Pesach. So uniquely on this day, they would start the afternoon sacrifices a half an hour after midday. So already if midday today is approximately 11:45, right? Because sunrise around 6, sunset's almost 6, 5:45. It's just a little bit before 12 is midday, and then half an hour later, and that's when they would start it. So 12:15, 12:30, something like that. So yeah.
Then Jerusalem, they go to the temple, or
You-
those they come to
Everybody
Jerusalem?
who came to Jerusalem, yeah.
Like everybody from
Yeah.
from the whole
Yeah,
nation.
yeah.
Shosh HaGalim.
Yeah.
But how they all like move to one city?
Yeah.
It was a miracle.
Yeah, they were sleeping in the streets. There was people open up their homes and their yards, and it was
And
quite a
did
scene.
Their houses stay empty.
No, also, I'm just saying to host all the guests. The Jerusalemites, hotels were filled with tourists. They were everywhere, and they came up to Jerusalem.
From Kiryat.
Oh no,
From over there, from like
from Eilat
from Eilat
to Metula,
to Metula.
they would come to Jerusalem to bring the Korban Pesach.
Would they have to go to the Temple Mount too?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. You would.
But couldn't they just pay?
No, every Jew's supposed to come. Well, at least one representative of the family. A few families would get together on one korban. It didn't have to be every single person, but the people had to be in Jerusalem in order to eat from the korban. One of the unique korbanot that we actually eat. So Jerusalem will turn into one big, barbecue, right? On every street corner in every park, there were people eating their Korban Pesach. Groups, it has to be groups, special for groups. Gansaka, right? Maybe it looks a little bit like that on Yom Ha'atzmaut nowadays, but much more than that. It was in the times of the temple. Yeah.
How many korbanot chagigat did you bring?
Very good. So Russell is adding that forget about the Korban Pesach, which is its own unique korban, and everybody has to have at least, you have to, just like we said, there's a mitzvah to eat a portion of matzah on the night of the Seder. In the day, there was a mitzvah to eat a portion of the Korban Pesach, the night of the Seder. It's a mitzvah to eat, and there was a bracha. Just like al achilat matzah. And so, everybody had to have at least a kazait of Korban Pesach. Every time you come to Jerusalem, to Aliyah LaRegel, as Thomas said, 3 times a year, you're supposed to come, if possible. You come to Jerusalem to the Beit HaMikdash, and when you come to the Beit HaMikdash, you bring a korban. A korban on Shavuot, on Sukkot. It's not a korban Pesach. It's a regular. So on Pesach too, not only would you bring the korban Pesach, you would also bring additional sacrifices. Like everybody who comes up to the Aliyah LaRegel, he brings a sacrifice. And there's 2 types of sacrifices he brings. It's called an olah. One is olah, which is a burnt offering, and one is a chagiga, which is a shlamim offering. And there's 2 types of korbanot, which every Jew would bring over on top of the korban Pesach, and that was brought sometime during the entire 7 days. Didn't have to be on the first day, right away at the beginning. Although it's quite complicated because there is a tradition that to make things a little bit more streamlined, like I said, there'll be a few families together on one korban, so you wouldn't have to have all millions of people in the Beit HaMikdash. It just wouldn't work. I think that was Amos's hinted question, how could there so many people come? So you have a representative because you know all you have to do, you have to eat is only one olive size of a korban. So you could have a korban with maybe 100 people or more, or 200 people that each get an olive-sized piece of meat from that one korban, and so that cuts down the numbers of people in the Beit HaMikdash. But if you only have one little morsel, the size of an olive of meat, you're going to be hungry. And so they would bring the other korban, the korban chagigah, and to fill themselves, and then you could have as many as you wanted, or you know, depending on the size of your family, and every family would, you know, have an additional portion of meat so that you could fill yourselves up. And so we won't get into the more details of those korbanot, and one day we'll get closer. It'll become more practical. Okay, so that's it. That's the Erev Pesach. Let's go into the Seder night, chapter 16, page 209. I see. We can start. Introduction. Okay, introduction. Yeah, Ariel, go ahead.
Introduction. Before detailing the laws of the Seder, let us briefly survey the mitzvah we fulfill on the Seder.
And that'll be a good review for us because we've been discussing this, but an introduction for the chapter 16. Go ahead. Two elements.
Two elements constitute the
Foci, I believe. Foci or foci. Where's Moshe when you need him?
You can say either one.
You can see either one. I think it's either foci or foci, but
Okay.
it's the plural of focus.
Okay.
Focus, something you...
Foci of the Seder. The first is commemoration of our exodus from Egypt and emancipation from slavery and reflection on the significance of Israel's freedom. The second is to transmit a tradition to the next generation. Both of these are included in the Torah's commandment to tell the story of the Exodus on the night of the 15th of Nisan. In order to make this commemoration tangible, the Torah commands us to eat the Korban Pesach, matzah and maror, on this night. The Pesach sacrifice recalls God's miraculous slaying of the Egyptian firstborn while passing over the house of the Israelites, sparing their firstborns. The matzah recalls the matzot our forefathers ate when they left Egypt for freedom, and the maror recalls the hard labor and bitter enslavement our forefathers experienced at the hands of the Egyptians. Because the temple is now in ruins, we are unable to offer the Pesach sacrifice. We eat the afikoman in its stead. On the Torah level, the mitzvah to eat maror is contingent on eating the Pesach sacrifice. When the Pesach sacrifice is not offered, there is no mitzvah to eat maror. However, the sages instituted eating maror even after the destruction of the temple. No change has taken place regarding the mitzvah to eat matzah. Thus, even after the destruction of the temple, there is a Torah commandment to eat an olive bowl kazait of matzah. The sages also instituted the integration of 4 cups of wine into the recitation of the Haggadah, which we drink as an expression of joy and freedom. They also instituted that we eat matzot and drink wine while reclining, as a demonstration of freedom.
Okay, so let's summarize this on the board. Take a look here briefly, and I'm going to do some fancy footwork. Somebody the other day said he's colorblind, and you are? Somebody else. But anyways.
I didn't say it anyways.
Okay, you have a question though. No, wait.
No.
You didn't say, but you are.
Yeah.
Oh wow. So, so what he did is he held up his phone. Apparently, there's an app that you can get for colorblind people, and it does an adjustment for you, and then you can see the colors. Yeah, it's very cool. I'll send you to him afterwards.
He's gonna be really happy.
Very cool. Anyways, so originally there were mitzvot doraita. We have the mitzvah to eat the korban. I'll put korban, Pesach. And then together with the korban Pesach, you eat the maror and the matzah. Okay? So we don't have the korban Pesach anymore. And because of that, the way our sages understood it, we don't have the mitzvah to eat maror anymore either.
Why not?
Because the Torah links the two.
Okay.
Links the two. And if we don't have the korban Pesach, we don't have to eat the maror. Exactly. So this is the color black was for the mitzvot that are biblical. Now, rabbinically, along came the rabbis and added a few things.
Right.
They said that you have to have 4 cups of wine 4 cups of wine. No, this is
Oh,
separate. And you have to recline these posture for this night. Very interesting rabbinic institutions. And they also added a rabbinic institution, which is to eat maror. But they didn't do anything instead of Korban Pesach. And I forgot, there's one more mitzvah d'oraita, of course, that still remains, and that is telling the story. Telling the story, which we call Haggadah. In Hebrew, I would say Haggadah. And that, of course, remains whether or not we have the temple or... Okay, so this is... If you look at the sum total, we have how many mitzvot today?
4.
Well,
5.
1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay? You like the colors?
Yeah.
So 5 mitzvot of the Seder night. How many are Doraita?
3. 2. Oh, Doraita
2. 2 biblical fulfillments, and 3 rabbinic.
one rabbinic d'oraita.
The rabbinic is like the one that was Doraita. Nowadays it's only rabbinically that we have to eat the maror. That's a nice brief summary. We'll continue and prepare how we put all these together in the right order on the Seder night. That's what we're going to discuss in chapter 16 tomorrow. B'ezrat Hashem. Okay. Nowadays we don't eat it though. We just put it on the